going to start by casting on with our blue waste yarn. I'm going to drop my setup bonnet down into the cylinder, hang all of my split rings, every other needle. One quick tip is to remember to make sure all of your latches are open. Otherwise, it won't catch the yarn as you crank around. Okay, so I've hung all of the needles I can reach easily. I'm now going to turn my cylinder so that the needle with the first split ring is right at the break in the yarn feeder. Make sure the split rings have dropped below the latches, otherwise it won't catch correctly. Now I'm going to load my waste yarn into my yarn feeder, drop the end down into the cylinder, and I'm making sure that my yarn is falling just beside the first needle that has a split ring. I'll add my weight and crank the first few needles. Once I have the rest of the needles available, I can hang the rest of my split rings. If you have trouble, sometimes it's hard to grab that last one. So you can use a tool to put that last one over the last needle. After you go around the first time, stop and make sure they all caught. Mine did. There you go. Once you have a few rows, you're set up and established. Now we're going to add a ravel cord. Crank around until the main mark is right at the break in the yarn feeder. So here's my main mark. And you're going to be working with the needle just past the main mark. You will cut the waste yarn with, I don't know, 6 inches or so. And then I use my loom tool to reach in and get the yarn. So again, I'm pulling it through on this side of the needle that's just past the main mark. So here's the main mark, here's the needle that I'm targeting, and here's where I just pulled the waste yarn through. Now I'm going to drop my ravel cord down into the center of the cylinder, kind of load it into the break in the yarn feeder, and then I'm going to put it around the other side of that needle. So I have the waste yarn coming on one side of the needle and the ravel cord coming on the other. Hold those together for a moment while I weave my ravel cord under the bar at least. And then I like to put a weighted clip to hold those two ends together. You're just going to crank halfway around until the halfway mark is at the break in the yarn feeder. You might need to go a little slowly, particularly if your tension is tight. All right, I'm stopping where the first needle past the halfway mark has just started to catch the ravel cord. Now we're going to switch to the second ravel cord. It's the exact same method that we just did for putting on the first one. You're going to hug around the needle, but this time you're switching off of a ravel cord and on to the next ravel cord. Having the two pieces just makes it a lot easier when it's time to remove them after hanging the toe. So the tail end goes down in the cylinder. And again, we're going to get a clip and clip the ends together. And now you're just going to crank a couple of needles until the halfway mark is at 9 o'clock. Okay, just like that. The next step is to raise all of the needles along the top half of the cylinder. So we're lifting, starting with the first needle after the main mark, and then lifting until the last needle before the halfway mark. And again, don't pull up too vigorously. Now you can finish cranking this row all the way until you can hear the cams are no longer engaged. You can move back and forth because the raised needles are right in this cam area. Put the ravel cord back down in the center of the cylinder and add our sock yarn. Visit us at deanandbean.com and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.